With me today is Matthew Neems. Matthew is the Victorian State Manager for all lift forklifts and access equipment and the owner and founder of Brainplay Performance Management. Welcome, Matthew, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Christy. I'm very excited to be on the show.
Okay, so I wanted to start off by asking you about your sporting background. Now, you signed a National Youth League contract with the Central Coast Mariners, and then a trapped artery in your calf meant you had to undergo surgery. So tell me about this time in your life and what it meant to be signed at such a young age.
I was super excited. I'd done a year of training with the senior teams, so the first and the second team at Central Coast, and then my chance came in the second year of doing that, and I signed the National Youth League contract with them, and shared the goalkeeper position with Andrew Redmayne, who's still playing for Sydney FC and in our national team setup as well. And so it was like a bit of a dream come true. It wasn't a senior contract, but it was very, very close to it. And the issue I had with my legs, they basically weren't working properly. And so if you could imagine a engine running on very little amount of oil, it's going to start to seize up. It's not really doing the performance that it could do. And so there were some sessions when I was training up there at Central Coast that I had to pull out of because my legs were just throbbing. And so after getting one set of surgery that didn't fix it, and then the next, we found that there was extra muscle compressing the artery, bringing the blood down into my calves, and had that cut out, and that was me free again. But that was about a 2-year process. And so I left my position at the Mariners, took time off to get my first surgery, went back to Blacktown City in the National Premier League, had more surgery, luckily enough to go back to Blacktown again. And that's when I moved overseas, just after that last season.
So when you had that injury and you had to undergo surgery, did you ever think that you'd go back to being the player that you were before then?
I did. I wasn't doubtful that I couldn't go back to the performance that I was putting in. I was actually mindful that the surgery was going to help me train harder and play better, because I was limited with the amount of training I could do. And who knows, it could have been linked to, let's go back 2-3 years before that moment, when I was playing in the state league. And so I was so keen, I was so hungry to make it as a professional soccer player, as a goalkeeper. And I wanted that bad. I was training in the morning, I was training in the afternoon, and then at night time I'd go and train with my club. And so doing 11, 12, 13 sessions a week, and then going out on the weekend to play, by the time I played, I was flat. I was out of energy. I wasn't hungry, and I started losing weight, like quite a fair bit. And so there was a massive lesson learned there is just to get the quality, not the quantity of training.
So do you think at the time, if someone had said to you, you're doing too much and you need to sort of scale it back a bit, do you think you would have listened to them?
Funny you ask that. Someone did say that, and I said, yeah, right, whatever. My physio, Dave Hughes, at the time, he said, Neemsy, you're doing way too much, and he would be on the bench with me, right, for the senior team, but he would have watched me play in the reserve team. And he just saw me and he said, mate, you're flat. You're doing too much. And I remember he said it down at Sutherland at a game once. And if I knew to trust him, to basically be okay with taking that advice, because at the time I thought I knew better. And yeah, if I could go back to that point, I would have listened to Dave. I would have looked in the mirror and thought, yeah, I'm losing weight. Looked at my performance and cut back. But I was so hungry and wanted it so bad that, nothing was going to stop me except myself.
So obviously your advice to yourself would be to, cut it back a little bit. So what do you think a young person today that's playing and that might have that exact hunger and really want to push themselves, what would you say to them to try and make them, just take a rest?
I'd say that there's more to life than football. Don't identify to it, because I did that and identified as that footballer, as that goalkeeper, rather than myself, I'd be saying, be true to yourself. And by that, I mean, stay with you, who you are. Don't change for who you think people want you to be. You're thinking about their thinking. So just be you, your perspective, and don't do too much, and enjoy the process. Because I was rushing to the end. I really wanted to make it into a professional setup as soon as I could. And I forgot the process. And I was just always, looking at the end goal and the end goal and the end goal. Whereas to look back at and give some advice to some younger athletes out there, I'd be saying, enjoy the process. Don't forget it is a process. From training session to training session, match to match, that's the process.
And I suppose, speaking about that hunger and, the end goal and what you wanted to do, you wanted to be a professional soccer player in the UK, and you did chase your dreams over to the other side of the world. So tell me about what happened when you landed in the UK. What was the process?
When I landed in the UK, I contacted a manager that was helping me in Australia. I wasn't signed with this manager, but he was helping me, and I asked for help. Basically he said that the contacts he had in the UK were at a level far greater than where I was at. And so he said, I can't really help you. He did try to organise a trial with one club in Scotland that fell through. And basically from there, I was on my own. So I was being the manager for myself. So I was contacting all the clubs from the basically from the semi-professional levels up to, League One and League Two. I was emailing them, calling them, and basically representing myself whilst keeping fit and not playing. So I was being the manager and the athlete at the same time.
So why do you think you didn't actually get a manager or an agent while you were there? Was it just because it was too hard to do, or was it something that you decided consciously not to do?
There were some managers and agents that I reached out to, and they reached out to me, and I met them, and I didn't feel comfortable working with them, and the support that they could offer, I just thought I could do it myself, and so that was the decision. I had a large spreadsheet of clubs, email addresses, phone numbers, contacts that I built in the hundreds, because it's religion over there. There's clubs and, managers, and it's everywhere. And so I built that to push myself. I ended up getting an opportunity in a semi-professional level, and then moved up to a basically professional level. It was in the Conference Premier League, a club called Southport that I played for a couple of years, which is the first of the professional leagues. Okay, so there's 5 over there, and this was the 5th. And once I signed there, I thought, great, this is my chance to play. I've come over with such high expectations. I put so much pressure on myself to perform. And when I got my opportunity, which was not long after signing, I did perform and I did do well. And I played again the next game, and I did well again, and I played again the next game. And with 2 man of the match performances, a team of the week, and in the last game, saving a penalty shot to win the game. The following game, I thought I had it in a bag. There was 3 in a row. I was feeling good. I was playing well, and then they put the other goalkeeper back in, and that hurt me. I felt all my emotions came out, and so as I identified as the goalkeeper, it hurt me as I was put back on the bench. And to look back and change things if I could, I wouldn't identify as the goalkeeper and see from like a third person perspective as this is the process. You're back on the bench, no worries. But I didn't see it from that, and I frustrated myself. I wanted it so bad. I was sitting on the bench and got more and more upset as the weeks went on. By the end of the second season, I was done. I'd had enough, and so I took a year off and moved to France.
So do you think the coach could have explained things better to you at the time as to why he was taking you off the field, given that you had such a good run and great performance in the 3 weeks prior?
I think he could have, yes, because there wasn't an explanation, and a lot of the time there isn't. And in the current athletes that I'm coaching at the moment through the coaching I'm doing, they ask the same question. I'm on the bench, I've been dropped, and I don't know why. And if I was to look back again to myself and have a conversation with myself back then, I'd say it's not his duty, it's not his responsibility. It's up to me on how I receive the information and process it. And I can't control anyone else's mind, anyone else's language, and how they see the world and how they communicate and what they feel is important. It's what I can do. And like I said, I would move to that third person perspective, remove all the emotion, see what's going on from a logical view, and then make decisions from there.
So you said you lost your passion and obviously you moved over to France, and we'll talk about that in a second. But do you think that passion was lost at that moment where he took you off the field and popped you on the bench? Or do you think there was a build-up leading to that?
Definitely a build-up leading to it. The emotion and that hurt. I hurt myself in the face of this coach pulling me off and putting me on the bench. And that was the start. That was the start of me upsetting myself week in, week out, so that, when it was my turn to play, I was not good. I'm telling you now, like I was far from the performance I could produce. And from that, I ended up moving clubs. I said, to the coach, I confronted him and said, what are my chances of playing here? I really, really want to play. I want to get better. I want to move up the ranks. And he said, look, I'll help you find another club. But right now, this other goalkeeper has been with me for years. I know him. I trust him. He fits into how we play. And he is my number one, no matter what. And he kindly found me another club in the level underneath. And by that point, I was so upset and just wanting it so bad. And I was so emotional about the whole football thing. When I played, I was terrible. And so that was like a bullet in the coffin. It was, I put myself into a state where I was lost. I was confused. I was basically making a decision without cognitively processing that I was going to take time off football. And for the 20 years before that, all I wanted to do was play professional football. And so I fell into a state of depression for, a month or two. And I felt super lost. Like my identity was stripped from me, because then from that moment, when they actually dropped me and said, Matt, we don't have a spot for you anymore. That there was just like, wow, my world was spinning.
So it sounds like it was a real crushing blow. And, I'm the first to admit I'm no sort of expert on, soccer or football, as they call it overseas. But I am absolutely addicted to Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's an unbelievable series. And they are so passionate about football in the UK and in Europe in general. So do you think you sort of get built up to a sort of level of, I suppose, inspirational status or celebrity sort of status with the fans as well? And then if you are dropped, a little bit of that is taken away from you?
Absolutely. And the club at Southport had fans and had very, very passionate fans that supported us everywhere we went. And when you're in the starting lineup, they love you, and when you're not, it's not the same. And so as we as athletes, and I did myself, identify with that and feel good because of that, which is, wow, this is great. People are clapping me. People are saying my name, I'm signing shirts and all that sort of stuff. That there is the misinterpretation of who I was and who I am, because to me now, to go back, yes, that's meaningful for them, but it wouldn't be meaningful for me. It's a pen, it's a shirt, and I'm putting my name on it. But for me, it was like, wow, look what I'm doing. I'm amazing. But then it's that motivation strategy that pulls me up when things are good. But when I'm dropped and I'm on the bench, it pulls me all the way down into a place where it's much harder to get back to playing at the level that I can.
Yeah, I think, from the sounds of it, it's like you go through like extreme highs and extreme lows. And I think, did you realize at the time that it's a business? Because obviously, sport is something that kids grow up and they want to do. They want to be professional athletes. But it's actually a business at the end of the day. It's not just, guys coming together to play a sport together. It's actually a business where people make money or lose money. Did you see that at the time, that it was a business and you were sort of, I suppose, a piece of equipment in that puzzle?
No, because it was all me. It was all my perspective and none of anyone else's or any other perspective. And so being me, you can't see, and I couldn't see past it, which is how I frustrated myself. It's how I depressed myself. I angered myself. I lost myself because I didn't see past that. And knowing that now, it's I can offer freedom to the people that I'm coaching and the athletes that I'm coaching. And I had a similar conversation with one of the athletes that I was coaching, and he was saying, I just want to feel more love from the club. And my comment was, is that in your contract? This is a business. And the club isn't there to love you. The club is there to reward you financially for your performance and you being there to help the team win games. There's no more, there's no less. And I think that was a big eye opener for him. And from that point, he's been less emotional, and he's seen it from a different perspective that I wish I could have back then. And I would have been able to remove emotion, enjoy the process, focus on the process. And then as I look up, it's like, wow, it's been 2 years. I'm in a professional setup, rather than looking at what I want all the time and then forgetting what I'm doing in the moment and stumbling and tripping.
Now, speaking about tripping, obviously you mentioned you moved to France. Why France? Was that like an escape? Why didn't you come back to Australia?
Good question. That one, that's a big one. At the time, I was embarrassed to come home, and I was fearful of returning home, not having achieved what I wanted to achieve, and so that I was telling myself I wasn't ready to return. But as I look back and reflect, I wasn't ready because I felt like I failed, and I told myself I failed. France was an opportunity to move in straight away with a friend from Sydney. My brother was living in France, and my brother's partner at the time could get me a job straight away. So from one day to the next, I could have accommodation and a job, and that was my freedom and my ability and my opportunity to get away from football, get away from sport, literally move countries. And just be another bad bum in the shower and just be me and find myself.
So look, I don't think that you have anything to obviously be embarrassed about. And I would imagine that now on reflection that you don't actually think that. And you've achieved a lot more than I suppose most kids would ever aspire to. But you've also played with some top players that have gone on to play professionally in the UK and Australia. So how do you feel, then and I suppose now, on the fact that they've made it to where you wanted to get to and you were unfortunately not able to do that?
Another good question, Christy. And that's one that I upset myself many, many times, over and over again over the years. Some goalkeepers that we were all together, training together, play for, top leagues in the English Premier League. Matt Ryan. We used to train and play together. Danny Vukovic, we used to train and play together. Andrew Redmayne, we used to train and play together. And players as well that are now in the national team and playing professionally. And I look back at my journey overseas, and at the time, I can't fault it. I just had this bug, this desire that I had to get over there and experience it. And the impatience I had then, which was the race to a professional contract, was the reason why I went. Without, I guess I wasn't ready, but I thought I was. And now as I look to those players that have done outstanding in their career, and I look at me and where I am, it's led me to where I am today, which I'm, ecstatically happy about. I met my future wife and the mother of my two kids when I was overseas in the UK, Eliza. We've got two beautiful boys and a house. I've got a amazing job with Alllift, and I've started a coaching career. And the passion I've got for coaching and helping people see through what I call the bullshit that holds us back, that we do to ourselves. I just have a burning desire now to help other athletes or business people or mums or dads, whoever it is, to see through that and be the best version of themselves they can be, and get the most out of each opportunity that life throws their way.
And you've certainly done that. You've taken every opportunity, I suppose, that's been thrown at you. And, after spending 12 months in France, you came back to Australia and you started with Alllift as a spray painter. Now, that seems like such a random sort of thing for you to do after being, an athlete. So why a spray painter? Was it just something that happened? And tell me about coming back to sort of working in Australia, 9 to 5.
Yeah, that was a very humbling experience. No, for years and years, it was, even when I was growing up, everyone's like, Matt, house soccer. That's all the talk was. And, I loved it. It was all the attention on me, right? And that's what I was craving. The external validation, well done, Matt, and the attention. Being the fourth born in a family of six, four kids, I had to jump around and make some noise to get attention. And so to get attention for me is that worthiness, and I would be craving worthiness, and achieving things helped me feel that. And so having that career I had, and then coming back and working for Alllift as a spray painter, it was super, super humbling. And it was an opportunity for me to swallow my pride and move on. And the opportunity came about from my best mate, Dean, that I went to high school with. Before I moved back from France, he had a room in his apartment at Coleroy in Sydney. And he said, I've got a space. It's here if you want it. And that was a yes from me. And then just before I moved back again, he said, if you want a job, I need a spray painter. And my plan was to do, 3-4 months working at Alllift and start my own goalkeeper academy. And it's been 8 years this year. I've moved through the ranks, and as the Victorian state manager now, I'm so grateful for the experience I've had and everything I've learned in business. This business has grown probably 7 times bigger from when I first started. And it's been a crazy journey, learning about myself, about business, about the rental industry, about, human interaction. And then, coupling that with the studies and courses and learning and coaching that I'm doing about, the mind and how we work and operate as humans, mixing it together has just been, this crazy roller coaster. It's been amazing.
Now, look, I think the rental industry is one that, gives some great opportunities for people to move from blue collar into management. And you certainly took the bull by the horns and were able to do that. So what do you think your specific traits are that allowed you to be able to progress from, spray painter to Victorian state manager in a relatively short period of time?
So it took, it was, I was at Alllift 3 years when I got the opportunity to move to Melbourne and grow and run the business. The biggest thing for me was hard work, working hard and being committed to doing a good job. So if that's peeling stickers off a forklift out the back of the workshop and spray painting to the best of my ability, even though sometimes it did run and I put too much paint on, from that to the opportunity to do some debt collection in the office, and I would just focus on that and nothing else. And I'd collect as much as I could. I'd make that a bit of a game, right? This is my job. This is the game I'm playing. How can I collect as much money as I can? How can I word my sentences, my emails, the way I speak to these people that maybe are struggling for some money, and their cash flow is tight, and learning about their business, our business, and, doing that as best I could. And then I got the opportunity to move into sales. And then that's a beast in itself. and then you're in the sales game. And I just wanted to sell and grow this business. We were doing well. It got really exciting, and we kept growing and growing and buying more machines and employing more people. When I started, there was about 10 or 12 people in the business, including Bruce and Carolyn, who own the business. And now there's about 65 staff and 4 branches and 2 dealerships. Wow. So yes, just hard work and commitment.
So it sounds like a little bit of your competitive nature has sort of got you there as well. But what do you think has kept you in the industry?
It's exciting. It's fast paced. It's pressure on. It's a pressure cooker. It's very fast. So for me, I like the speed of things. I like it when, let's say 4 or 5 orders come in at once, and it's like they all want these machines within, 3 hours or the next morning by 7 a.m. And that's the challenge you've just been handed. And it's like, right, how do we work as a team to get all this done really, really fucking well? Get the machine there in condition that the customer is going to accept it, not reject it, take it. They're happy, we're happy, and then bang, move on, do it again the next day. The competitiveness, 100% within our team at All Lift. The competitiveness is healthy. It's at a healthy level. And when all the managers, we all used to be in Sydney, working the sales team together, and we would always just try to beat each other. And as we try to beat each other, we're out there growing the business. And next minute we look up and we're all state managers and the business is huge, right? And this comes back to just focusing on the process. Back then we weren't, and I wasn't looking at where I wanted to be in the business and where I wanted the business to be. It was just head down, bum up, work hard, get home, relax, and then do it again the next day.
Now, I sort of take that go home and relax with a little bit of grain of salt, because you didn't really do that. You started a business, Brain Play Performance Management. So when did you start it and why?
I started Brain Play nearly 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. And I started it because of my loss of identity. When I transitioned from, professional sport to being a spray painter, that was massive. And I was stripped of my identity. I stripped myself because I identified incorrectly as the athlete. And people do it in business, that you could be a CEO or a CFO or a manager or whatever. And as you identify as that role, not as the person in it, but as it, what happens when that role changes or you move on? Then who are you? And that's what I experienced in sport. And so I trained in neuro-linguistic programming. I did sports psychology as a few subjects in my business degree, sports management business degree. And so I had some training. I was using my skills in NLP to better myself in sales for All Lift, and that worked. And then Eliza and I were overseas, driving from Scotland down to Bath to visit my brother after being up at her grandparents' place. She's Scottish. We had a firstborn Cooper in the back of the car, and we were just talking about life and what we really, really wanted out of life. And I can't fault my job at All Lift. I can't fault it. But the meaning making that I can get out of coaching people to be the best version of themselves that they can be, for them to see through the struggles and release themselves from, depressive states, release themselves from frustration or anger, and to be able to enjoy life at just another level, that there for me is so meaningful that I started the business. And I got a client very, very early on that stayed with me for about 18 months. Only recently, he said, "Look, Matt, I'm good for now. It's been 18 months, one hell of a journey. Thank you for everything, but I know where you are when I need you.
Your work here is done," type thing.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want to be able to not show, but for the client, the coachee, to be able to work out and see, bring the outside awareness stuff inside their awareness, so they can see what they're doing that's giving them the struggles or giving them the pain, and they can free themselves. And when they've got the ability to do it all themselves, we shake hands and move on.
What sort of clients do you work with?
Professional athletes. There's been a handful of the Socceroos. I've been lucky enough from my contacts when I was playing to have worked with a few of the Socceroos. Other people in national team setups in football. I was lucky enough to get connected with a professional surfer, business people, young entrepreneurs, a journalist, mums and dads. It's the thing is I could be working with an elite athlete at a world-class level, or a mum who's just had a baby, and the lenses that they're looking through that's holding them back, making things more difficult than what they could be. It's the same shit. Doesn't matter who you are. There could be an elite athlete that truly believes that they're shit at what they do, and they're playing at the top level. And my question to that is, imagine where you would be or could be if you just got rid of that belief. And you don't need to turn it around and believe that you are amazing, because that's a presupposition that you might still think you're not. It's just to be, rock up, be present, and then do your best. And everyone says, right, when you can access flow state and you're in flow state, it's the best you can actually do. And so being present is giving you the best opportunity to access that.
So do you find that you take on a bit of their emotional baggage, or are you really sort of not hardline, but firm with your clients as to what they need to do and, perhaps where they might be, going wrong or thinking the wrong way? How do you approach your clients?
So it's specifically developmental coaching. And in developmental coaching, there's a level of listening at a sacred level where I'm listening for the specific words, the language, the linguistics that's coming out of their mouth. I'm listening, I'm zooming out then and listening to the context of what's going on, the big picture stuff. Where are they coming from? Why are they telling me story after story after story? And I could be picking up everything's future orientated thinking or past stories, future and past stories. It's like, well, there's no presence. And so as I digest all of this information as they're talking, I feed back what they're doing. For example, referring to yourself as you instead of I. So, for example, I'm talking about myself and a struggle I'm having, and I say, Christy, when you're just struggling and you're really stressed out or you get really pissed off because of blah, blah, blah. So, if you were coaching me, you'd be saying, Matt, did you realize when you referred to yourself, you referred to yourself as you instead of I? And it's that sort of feedback that they can really just basically awaken themselves, bring that language inside their awareness, the strategies, the programs they're playing, and they can then free themselves from it.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the qualifications that you've got. Now, you've got a Bachelor of Business Administration, Sport Management from the International College of Management, Sydney. And you also have some NLP qualifications or certifications. Now, I don't really know much about NLP, but I've heard some good things and some bad things. So what do you think you took away from the training that you got in those areas?
Specifically from the NLP, I took away the skills and awareness and awakening to communicate. We communicate without talking. We communicate whilst talking. Our body communicates. We could look at blink rate, breath rate. We could look at how our body's sitting, our physiology, the words that are coming out of our mouth, when we talk, how we talk, what we're saying, what we're not saying. And originally, like I said before, I wanted to study NLP to be able to communicate with my clients better, to solve their problems, to build rapport, to build relationships where they trust me and they want to buy off me. And it worked. It worked really, really well. I became the best seller in the company and got the opportunity to move to Melbourne. And so from that, I saw where I could transfer that information, that skill set into coaching people. And so the ability to connect, relate, and build rapport with people, that's the richness of life, hey? Because you can be really fucking lonely. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, that's all good. We might bleep you.
So you can be really, really fucking lonely, and you're doing it to yourself, right? But the rich, deep conversations that we can have with people and connection, that's what human beings are all about, hey? but we can forget that, get caught up in the rat race and how fast life is. And I'm guilty of it myself. And we become human doings. And so the more people I can reach now and use those skill sets to help people communicate, it could be, one client said to me, my relationship with my wife now is better since we've been in coaching. He said his sex life was better since being in coaching. And that's the skill set he's transferred from, as we discuss sport, he's done this, he's transferred the same skill set that he's learned in the coaching into his relationship with his wife. So it's opening up that channel of communication and having better relationships and seeing things differently, perspectives. It's massive.
Now, talking about seeing things differently and, perspective, I read a testimonial on your website where one of your clients mentioned that you instantly picked up on the way that she took feedback and a few other sort of internal traits that she had that she, I suppose, deep down knew, but no one had ever called her out on that before. So do you think that you have sort of an innate ability to be able to, understand people at their core? And if you do, where do you think that comes from?
I've got to put it down to the training I've had, honestly. I've always been curious into what people are thinking for so many years, because I know how I think and see the world, but I've always wondered what it's like to look through anyone else's eyes. And that's probably, led me to the NLP and the training and coaching I'm doing now and my passion for it. But with that particular client, I was listening and feeding back. That was it. And that's through the training I've done. And I've been trained and mentored by Jay Headley, who's fantastic at this. He's one of the best in Australia or the best that I know, And so getting trained and mentored from the best has helped me be able to do similar to him and listen and feed back. Because in a conversation down at a bar or a pub or at dinner, it's surface structure shit. But as someone's in a coaching scenario with me and they're talking about a struggle they're having, I'm mirroring them and just pointing back at what they're doing. Did you hear that? Do you realize you said that 3 times? Where else are you doing this in your life? If you're doing this with me now, where else are you doing it? Are you doing it in your relationships? Are you doing it with your thinking about your career? Why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? What are your beliefs about that? And these are the sort of questions, specific questions at the right time, help uncover the root cause, the root origin of their thinking, their believing, their lenses they're looking through. And it could be as deep as, I'm not good enough, or I don't feel loved. I don't love myself. I'm not worthy. I'm craving security. And that comes from every single time some beliefs, some strategies that were built when they were young, between say 5 and 10 or 12 years old. And we build these strategies. We start to look through those lenses because they work then. For me personally, being the youngest of 4, I built the strategy to misbehave originally, and then that turned into achieving and doing good things. But it started being a cheeky little bugger to get attention, and I needed to get attention to feel worthy because I was the runt of the litter. I was the last of 4 kids, and so I built that strategy really, really young. And Jay brought that up in a coaching session with him, and we actually found the root cause, and that's what coaching's all about. Seeing that I say this every time with my clients, that 10 or 5-year-old driving your bus, but you're sat here as a mature woman or a mature man sat here in front of me. But can you see that there's a strategy that was built, 10, 15, 20 years ago from a mindset of a child? You're now mature and you can choose what you want now. And that there is the freedom that these people get.
So do you think from holding up a mirror to your clients, you're in effect holding up a mirror to yourself?
I get a lot out of the coaching because I can see things in my clients that I do as well. And as I teach, as I coach, I get better as a human being. It's not as quick and as good and effective if I was sat in front of Jay or sat in front of someone else who was coaching me directly, because it's very direct. It's not therapy. It's not remedial. It's generative. Generative. I can't think of the word, but it's direct sort of coaching. Okay, and so if a client is at a level where they need or would better for them to have clinical therapy, that's when I tap out and say, hey, I don't think you're ready for this sort of coaching. I think what would be better for you is some clinical work. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I've not studied psychology. I've done parts of it in my degree and NLP, but I haven't done that to be or call myself clinical. But I coach healthy people that are looking for the 1% and 2% that are holding them back from really achieving that level. It could be in business, relationships, sport, whatever.
So how do you actually find the time to do this? You know, you've got a full-time job and the rental industry is very demanding. So how do you find time?
Christy, I find it. It's hard. It's hard. I'm coming back from being sick at the moment because I just worked myself to the point where my body just said, I'm done. You know, I can't do anymore, and it started to get sick. So, getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to exercise before my 7 a.m. start with All Lift helps me, look after the body and mind together. You know, that's a good thing. I need that. And then I work my day. I come home. I could be handed my 6-month-old Reuben or my 2-year-old Cooper or some pots and pans to start cooking straight away. Hey, honey, how are you? Good. Let's get into it. Feed the kids, clean the house, put them to bed. And then I'm into a coaching session. I'm into a coaching program that I'm either helping or doing or sitting in on to learn some more. I'm working on my business, working on myself. I've actually pushed too far. And this is, I'm glad you asked, because right now I'm in the point of backing off and balancing out. And that's so important because I'm catching myself doing what I did when I was training 10 to 14 times a week. I'm doing it now. And it's the quality, it's the thinking, it's the ideas, it's the vision that I'm missing out on by just going bang, 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 and just working all day long.
Yeah, because I'm hearing some sort of recurring themes with you that you have a goal and you push. And do you think that because you've had that experience before, that's actually been able to make you see, oh no, hang on, I've got to this point, I actually really need to pull back? Or is it just because you fall ill that you decide, okay, enough's enough? Or your wife might say to you, you just need to take some time. What do you think it is?
It's both. I'm the only one to be guilty of it, but it is both. So Eliza, she'll say a lot of times, babe, you're doing too much. And I'll say, no, I'm all good. I can do it. I was on the phone this morning to a local soccer team that wanted me to play for them, and I was umming and ahhing about that. And I'm just like, no, quality time with my boys. They're growing up so fast. Quality time with Eliza, and giving quality into brain play, quality into All Lift, is enough for now. Hey, and catching that I've done it before and it didn't work out. I was clearly running different strategies to my former teammates, right? And so the opportunities to catch that, change that to something more resourceful, and just enjoy the process. There's, like I said, there's no rush for this. I can coach till the day I die. I don't need my body to do it. It's not like I'm an elite athlete. And
you're mentioning that, with coaching, you don't have to, your body doesn't have to be right as long as I suppose your mind is. So like, how much are you doing? Like how much time are you investing into this business?
Every afternoon and night. So when I finish work with All Lift, I come home and I basically put my dad cap on for an hour and a half ish until the boys are asleep, and then I put my brain play cap on, and I'm coaching for an hour with about an hour of admin. So let's say 2 hours a night, sometimes 3 hours, and on the weekends, coaching people around the world. I've coached in athletes in Saudi Arabia, in Korea, in Romania, in Belgium, in England, and I'm coaching someone in Brazil at the moment as well. The times don't all work out, and for me to learn more, grow more, and become a better coach and coach more people, I'm fitting into their schedule, which means, it could be an early morning on a Saturday. It could be Saturday night, Friday night, Sunday night, wherever it works. I'm putting them into the calendar. So I have the opportunity to coach this person, to help that person, and obviously help myself become a better coach. So it's all over the shop at the moment. I'd be saying about, probably about 10 hours a week.
So is there a reason why you won't, I suppose, throw yourself into just taking that on board full time at the moment?
Job security is massive. I do really enjoy my role at All Lift. And so there's opportunities for me at All Lift as well. There's still more opportunities at All Lift. And if I could click my fingers and have the ultimate career, it would be coaching. It's something that I'm passionate about. And it's it's something that I really, really want to do. Something full time, yes, I'd love to do it full time when the time's right. Now isn't the right time. 2 young boys. Eliza's just got a job, and we've just got a lot up in the air at the moment, personally. So, yeah, I would absolutely love to do coaching full time. It is the plan. Whenever that comes, it'll show itself, and I will be focusing on the process until that happens.
So what's next for Matt?
What's next for Matt? Ignite Your Inner Self is a micro event series that I've been working on. Last night was the very first one, looking at states, our state of mind, and how we can, control our states, see our states, and choose more resourceful states from moment to moment. So I'm working on that at the moment. Eliza's parents, which are our freedom from our lovely 2 boys, they're back in the country. They're Scottish, but they've been out of the country since COVID. So we have our babysitters back. Eliza and I are going to take a break. We've not had a holiday for about 1.5 years. And just take a break and reflect on what we're doing, what we really want, and just connect again.
Well, Matt, you've had some amazing experiences and have got so much to share with people. And I think you're doing, a wonderful job being able to help people, I suppose, hold up that mirror to themselves and become the best people that they can be. But I have a final question for you, Matt. What would you do differently if only you knew?
So I would, there's 2 things. I would identify and learn about myself, and identify with myself, not with what I'm doing. Okay. And sport specifically, where I identified as a goalkeeper, it hurt and it hurt a lot when I retired, and I would work on me, see what works for me, and see through the immaturities that I had, and try and see through them earlier. And another thing that I would do differently, only if I knew the pain and the struggling that my brother was going through after being sexually abused for years and years when he was younger. If I knew the pain he was going through then, I would offer him more support, or support at all, because I didn't know until the last few years that he really opened up and explained his struggles. So if I knew that, I'd go back in time and give him a few more hugs.
Well, look, pass on some hugs to your brother, because it's a really hard thing, especially for men to sort of, talk about, definitely. Yeah. And I hope that you don't beat yourself up about the fact that you didn't know and that you weren't there for him, because, absolutely, you seem like the person that if you had have known, you would have given all the support in the world. And I think, you're doing that now. You're helping so many people, and I'm sure that your brother looks to you for some strength and support as well. So, Matt, I've really enjoyed our time together today, and I've learnt so much. And I think that the things that you're doing, as I said, are just absolutely marvellous. And if anybody out there would like to know more about Matthew, you can follow him on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I'll also have a link to Matt's website and his full bio on my website, ifonlyyouKnewpodcast.com.au. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Christy.